Hi, once again, I am subbing, and I just love the books that I find on teachers' bookshelves. Have you ever made a mistake? I've made many, many mistakes. Well, even this morning, I'm sure I have, but I can't think of any. But this book is all about mistakes that cause something really good to happen, which is really nice because a lot of times when we make mistakes, something bad happens. But not always. Sometimes we can learn from those and we can make better choices next time, but sometimes really great things come about. So this is called Mistakes That Worked. The World's Familiar Inventions and How They Came to Be. So it's a long book. We'll just read a couple of the mistakes and learn from there. And then if you want to look into it more, it's written by Charlotte Foltz Jones. So this one's cheese. It says, there he was, an ancient Arabian traveling across the desert with no one for company but a camel with yellow teeth, bad breath, and a bad temper. At least the fellow had food along. He had poured some milk into a pouch made from a sheep's stomach. That's what they had to use a long time ago because they didn't have containers. During his journey, he opened the pouch and discovered the milk had separated and formed thick masses, which we call curd, and a watery fluid, which we call whey. The Arabian traveler had accidentally invented cheese. Two elements transformed the milk into cheese. First, the sun warmed the bag of milk during the journey. Second, the sheep's stomach bag contained dried digestive juices. The digestive juices included rennet, which is necessary to make cheese even today. So we made some mozzarella cheese and we had to order some rennet from the internet and we had to put that into our cheese. It was very good. It says, the Arabian traveler told his friends about his discovery, and for 4,000 years, people have continued making cheese. Cheese quickly became important all over the world. Milk spoiled quickly, but by making cheese, people could preserve the milk's nutrition for long periods of time. If you are an average American, you ate 24 pounds of cheese last year. Oh my goodness. That's what the National Cheese Institute estimates. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, while the United States is the largest producer of cheese, the average French person eats the most cheese, 43.6 pounds each year. Over 2,000 varieties of cheese are produced around the world. If you tasted a different kind each week, it would take almost 40 years to sample all the varieties. And by that time, someone would probably have developed some new ones to try. So, kind of interesting, huh? The next one is chocolate chip cookies. George Washington never tasted one. Neither did Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, nor Mark Twain. Unfortunately, they died before the chocolate chip cookie was invented. They missed out, didn't they? Thanks to Ruth Wakefield, chocolate chip cookies were invented in 1930 and are available all over America today. Wakefield did not plan to invent cookies. That would be the cookies that would become the country's favorite. She was busy with chores of running the Toll House Inn, located on the toll road between Boston and New Bedford, Massachusetts. While mixing a batch of cookies, Wakefield discovered she was out of baker's chocolate. As a substitute, she broke some semi-sweetened chocolate into small pieces and added them to the dough. She expected the chocolate bits to melt and the dough to absorb them, producing chocolate cookies. When she removed the pan from the oven, Wakefield was surprised. The chocolate had not melted into the dough, and her cookies were not chocolate cookies. Wakefield had accidentally invented the chocolate chip cookie. They were named Toll House cookies after Ruth Wakefield's Inn and are the most popular variety of America today. Estimates say 7 billion chocolate chip cookies are consumed annually, and half the cookies baked in America are chocolate chip. These popular treats have even provided full-time jobs, some vendors selling nothing but chocolate chip cookies. They also made a political appearance in 1980 after Canadian diplomats assisted 6 American hostages to escape from Iran. The American people sent chocolate chip cookies to the Canadian embassy, our way of saying thanks. If you would like to make chocolate chip cookies, the following recipe is from Nestle Food. This is the original Toll House cookie recipe. So I'm going to put that up. Otherwise, I think it's on the bag of chocolate chips. If you make them, let me know how good they turned out. How about Coca-Cola? Do any of you drink Coke? We know it's not good for us, right? Sometimes it just tastes so good. This is Coca-Cola. The date was May 8th, 1886. The Civil War had been over 21 years. Grover Cleveland was president of the United States, and in Atlanta, Georgia, a pharmacist named John Pemberton was busy in his backyard. Pemberton had already invented French wine coca, the ideal nerve tonic, health restorer and stimulant, and lemon and orange elixir, and Dr. Pemberton's Indian Queen magic hair dye. But he wanted to invent a remedy for people who drank too much. Using a boat oar to stir, Pemberton cooked up a mixture in a brass kettle heated over an open fire. When he finished, he had a new medicine to relieve exhaustion, aid the nervous system, and soothe headaches. Pemberton took his new medicine to the Jacobs Pharmacy. He instructed Venable, his assistant, to mix the syrup with water and chill it with ice. They tasted it and agreed it was delicious. But when Venable mixed another glass, he accidentally added carbonated water instead of plain water. This time the men became excited. They decided that instead of offering the beverage as a headache remedy, they would sell it as a fountain drink, an alternative to ginger ale and root beer. They named it Coca-Cola after the coca leaves and the cola nuts it contained. In 1886, Coca-Cola sales averaged 9 drinks a day. According to the Coca-Cola Company, Pemberton sold 25 gallons of syrup that first year. He took in $50 but spent $73.96 on advertising. So he spent way more money than he did making money, which is not good for a business. People in 155 countries drink 393 million Coca-Cola soft drinks every day. Pemberton's invention is not famous as a headache remedy or exhaustion relief. Instead, it is one of the world's favorite beverages. And there is a wonderful Coca-Cola museum in Atlanta, Georgia that you can go and you can taste some of the different Coke products from all around the world. So maybe it tastes different in Egypt than it does in England or wherever you might go. A very neat place. And also, have you ever seen one of those 2-liter bottles that you can get of pop or soda or whatever you call it? They're big 2-liter plastic bottles. And we went, so when he first invented it, you could only get it by the glass at the pharmacy. And then someone said, you should make this so it can be in bottles. So they put it in little glass bottles. And then they had machines where you could get them out of little glass bottles. And then someone said, it would be nice if you could take it home for a whole family. So they got these bottles. And what's really neat, I don't know if you can look this up, the bottles actually start only about this big. They look like a little test tube, only about this big. But with their machine, they blow it up with air, I believe, and then they make it into that. So there's another museum that you can go to right now. I'm blanking if it's in Louisiana or Texas. And you can walk through the man's house. And he actually has a Bible museum right attached to his house, which is really neat. But they show you those little tubes. So, okay, so that's Coca-Cola. Let's see. Oh, I've heard this one before. This is interesting. This is the ice cream cone. The Chinese made iced desserts thousands of years ago, and George Washington was fond of ice cream. But the ice cream cone was not popular until 1904. Two food vendors had stands near each other in 1904, the World's Fair in St. Louis, Missouri. Ernest Hamwi, a Syrian who had been in the United States a year, was selling zalabia. Zalabia was a wafer-thin Persian waffle. So think of a waffle that you might eat for breakfast and then think of it really, really flat. Nearby, another stand was selling ice cream. Summer in St. Louis is hot, and the ice cream vendor soon ran out of dishes in which to serve his ice cream. Hamwi quickly rolled one of his waffles into a cone shape and topped it with a scoop of the neighbor's ice cream. The treat was an instant hit, and the World's Fair cornucopia became what we know today as an ice cream cone. While the story of Hamwi's ice cream cone is generally accepted, another man thought a lot like Hamwi, an Italian named Italio Marchiani, ran a pushcart business in New York City selling lemon ice in a cone. At first he used a paper cone, then a pastry one. Marchioni even applied for a patent in September 1903 and received it in December, 6 months before the St. Louis World's Fair began. Great minds think alike. Both Hamwi and Marchioni devised the idea for an ice cream cone, but it was probably the large number of people who tasted Hamwi's cones in St. Louis World Fair that made the ice cream cone the popular treat we know today. And they called it a cornucopia, and that's this shape. And a lot of times you'll see that in Thanksgiving pictures, or the people used to put a big cone on their table and fill it with fruit. I prefer it filled with ice cream and made out of a waffle instead. Much better. Okay, I think I have time for one more. This one is maple syrup. Warm days, cool nights. That's the magic formula for sugar maple tree growers. And February through March and April is the magic time to tap the trees. A single maple tree might give from 10 to 25 gallons of sap, but it takes between 35 and 50 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. The history of maple syrup goes back many centuries, and there is a legend about its discovery. The story says Chief Waukesas in Iroquois left the camp one day in early March for a day of hunting. As he left, he pulled his tomahawk from the maple tree where he had hurled it the night before. During the day, sap dripped from the tree into a vessel standing close to the tree trunk. When evening came, the chief's squaw noticed the tree water, which we call sap, in the vessel. She decided to use the tree water to prepare supper and save herself a trip to the spring. As it cooked, the sap boiled down into a syrup. When Chief Waukesas arrived home, he was delighted with the new maple flavor of his supper. Native Americans call the sweetener maple water, and as early explorers and settlers arrived in North America, they taught the white man how to process maple syrup. Modern technology is improving the sap gathering process as well as the evaporation method, but no one can improve on the natural goodness of real maple syrup. It says the major maple syrup producing states, and that's in the United States, are Illinois, Indiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Hampshire, New York, Ohio, Vermont, Wisconsin. Exact figures are not available, but it is estimated that 1,116,000 gallons of maple syrup is produced in the United States in a good year. Now, that's got to be nothing compared to what Canada does, because Canada is the major producer of maple syrup and maple sugar, and maple candy is so delicious. Here's a little picture to end with. So I hope you enjoyed that. Sometimes you can make some mistakes in cooking and maybe it'll turn out good, or a product you're working on, or maybe a craft even. So don't give up because you make a mistake, because you never know. We might get something as good as a chocolate chip cookie.